Super. Nice to have you here, and hi to everyone. So we are going to have a bit of a discussion about deep tech. Are you excited?
We are.
Good.
Yeah, I was born for the deep tech, so I'm super excited to be here.
Great. So our topic is risk and reward in deep tech, balancing innovation and investment. And first, probably we could have a bit deeper introduction. So if we start from you, Harri.
Yeah, so I'm Harri Santamala. I've been mixed in startups for quite a while. As an engineer, I got involved as an employee number one already maybe 13 years ago. I've been non-founding CTO of a tech startup, and my previous startup, that was the one where I took my journey as a CEO and spinning out amazing university research into a deep tech company. That was called Sensible 4. We were developing self-driving software, really in the deep end of the deep tech pool. And that story went all the way with the global customers, tons of money, awesome team, and experience with an M&A I do not want to repeat.
Oh.
But it seems I'm terrible in gardening, so I'm eternally in love with the deep tech. So yeah, I'm back working on something which I'm not going to tell about today, but it's going to be freaking awesome.
Okay, so we all get excited. How about you, Maria?
So my name is Maria Wasastjerna, and I'm one of the founding partners of Kvanted Ventures. We're an industrial tech early stage investor based here in Helsinki, but we invest across Northern Europe. Our focus is industrial tech and industrial tech only, so we're a niche investor. And we invest across software, hardware, and service solutions. And myself, I have a background actually in law. I used to do business law and M&A for 15 years before jumping to a more exciting playing field and starting with venture capital investing. I used to work with Nokia for many years, and that was the time when markets really changed from price-driven to data-driven. I got so excited about that, so I did my PhD on digital competition and the role of data in markets. And that's maybe also the hat I have now as an investor. I'm really fascinated by data-driven startups. I also worked as a legal counsel in a startup, so I saw how it can be both in the tough times and the good times. And then the last years before becoming an investor and starting Kvanted's journey, I was a partner in a law firm working mostly with transactions, compliance, and a lot of regulatory questions. So that maybe goes to the topic of today of risk mitigation too.
Super, and welcome to this side of the table, maybe the dark side. I don't know. You can always claim that, trust me, I'm a lawyer. But anyway, Vadim.
So I came from Singapore, where I'm working for Vickers Venture Partners. Vickers is like Vickers is a 20 years old venture capital firm. We raised 6 funds. We started from consumer part, investing in Southeast Asia and China. And probably the last 6 years, we pivoted to deep tech. And this is why I'm on this panel. Yeah. And our results much improved. So basically, we're investing in technology solving very large problems, like biodegradable replacement for single-use plastic, clean energy. So something with no market risk. So this is why this company is flourishing even at the current tough times.
Okay, so from B to C to deep tech.
From consumer to deep tech, so
okay. Super. And here, hi, my name is Ville. I'm from Butterfly Ventures. We invest into Nordic and Baltic-based seed stage deep tech companies. But anyway, to the topic. So as we know that the usually deep tech ventures, they require a bit longer time to develop, require a bit more money than maybe consumer cases or some other cases. And then, of course, there's, like in every venture capital case, there's a lot of risks, tech risk, team risk, business risk. But then putting these into perspective of deep tech, so longer investment term and a bit more money needed.
Yeah, always joking. It's a curse of deep tech. The better you perform, the more money you need.
Yeah, that I guess. Yeah, you always need to build a factory or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. That's a one challenge. But then if we talk a bit of this longer investment period and this risk mitigation, let's have a structure of this deep tech venture characteristics. So science discoveries, usually from research institution, knowledge frontier, protected with highly defensible IPR and often physical or tangible products. So if we start from that, we usually see these great deep tech ventures born from research institution or similar, and they are based on science discoveries or engineering innovations. So now thinking about this, engineering innovations, science discoveries from research institutions. What does that mean to you as an investor, mitigating the related risk or long term or what? Let's start from Vadim.
Look, because we invested in something that didn't exist before, so scientific discovery. So this is why it's highly defensible, because just to get to the same stage to replicate it, it takes, like, for example, I'll give you an example. We invested into synthetic vaccines. So gold nanoparticle is a carrier. There is no this technology exist anywhere before. So the inventor, he is like a 68 years old professor from Oxford. So basically, we've got patents, we've got trade secrets, we've got this invention. It's very difficult to copy. So like to copy it, you need another 25 years. So this is why we are pretty much confident when we invest in that, like it will not be replicated tomorrow.
Did they have a sellable product?
No. Like in deep tech, it's like obviously there is no sellable product. Before this vaccine is approved, you can't sell it. But the beauty of these deep tech investments that they're doing well, you can sell company without approved product for $1 billion. So, for example, this company right now, they're producing vaccine for dengue, you know, dengue fever.
Yep.
So, and government of Brazil pre-ordering this vaccine even before it's approved. So as soon as it will approve, they will just distribute it. So this company already worth like few $100 million with no approved product. This is the beauty of good performing deep tech.
Okay, so you're really doing a hardcore deep tech, like drug development.
It has to be a real hardcore.
Okay, so then putting this into kind of an investment period terms. So
it's a very long.
How long are
it's a very long. Lifetime of the fund is not enough. So we investing from consecutive funds in the same company, in the best performing company from a previous portfolio.
Okay, so really cool drug stuff. So science discoveries, research institutions. Mari, what kind of feelings you get from these?
So I think this is something we thought about quite a lot when we started Kvanted Ventures. As we are an industrial tech-focused investor, also including the deep tech cases, we realized that we need to have a bit of a longer investment period. So we're a 12-year long fund to start with, sort of initially accepting that some of the cases that we go into will take a bit of a longer time to mature and reach exit. And that has resonated, I think, really well, both with founders, but also co-investors more broadly.
How about with LPs or the fund investors?
When we approached LPs with our strategy, we were quite selective also in the sense that they need to understand industrial technology and industrial innovations. And I think as was sort of alluded to here in the earlier comment is that it's quite different from consumer tech cases, and that sort of understanding has to be with the LPs that you get to join your fund from the beginning. Okay. And I think maybe just as an observation, it seems that traditionally VC investors have sort of been a bit of afraid of industrial tech or maybe deep tech too, because of, hardware, making it more complicated, very long cycles, R&D efforts, and you don't really have any quick wins in sight, but it's really long-term goals. But I think that's really changing now, and as we probably see with this conference too.
Absolutely. Harri, you are about to release your new groundbreaking startup soon, I understood. I don't yet know what it is, but hopefully we'll learn it soon. Is it a spin-out from research institution or?
Yeah, so just like my last company, Sensible 4, it was basically a spin-out from decades of groundbreaking research, which we got to a point that, okay, we can actually make a product out of this. And I think that if you first think about the risk from a founder's perspective, if I believe in the technology and the team, when I'm establishing a company, for me the risk is zero because I know we are going to make this happen. Time will tell, what will happen in the end, but that's sort of the mindset of a winning team has to be on a day one that we know that we can get the risk down to zero if we do this in the right way. What I find rather interesting in this sort of deep end of the deep tech pool is that like self-driving or large language models, you can see how it goes, that there are several research institutions typically around the world. They can be private or on the public side, and who are sort of looking into the same field. And once somebody gets, like in the self-driving, it was the Google or Waymo, they get to a certain point, then people realize that, ooh, this is going to actually happen. So the first runner or OpenAI, they start to get the tons of attention, funding, customers, you name it. And then the second row, the guys who were doing sort of same thing or fast enough, they can match up the speed or in some cases even go further. And this is really interesting because when they started this, like nobody, in the self-driving, we had a vision that the business model is going to be like this. It's going to scale like this. It's going to happen in this time frame. But actually, this is a super complex technology, and nobody really understands, or most of the people don't understand in detail what exactly it is doing and what needs to be done. So the uncertainty is going to be there, and I think when we are doing really big things, that the first and the second row of companies are the ones who are probably going to change the world in most of the cases, and like what happened in the AI, that the third row is like 10,000 AI startups who are sort of trying to capitalize on the excitement and traction. And then can all of those really survive or which ones will be the ones who can survive this kind of death valley of unknown is like one of the biggest challenges in the sort of deep end. Fusion power is a classical example. It's always 50 years away, even though 50 years ago it was like, I don't know, 2020 it was supposed to be reality. So that's kind of ultimate deep tech.
So there is a bit of challenges. Maybe taking a few steps back. So have you been involved in those processes of kind of doing the technology transfer from the university to your previous company or to your current company?
In the previous one, I was not, because of the sort of founding team already left.
Okay. How about the new
this
one?
was built on their knowledge, so there was no technology transfer required. But actually, currently I'm I'm part of that, and I have to say that Finland has been doing an awesome job. Basically, Business Finland, universities like Aalto, and trying to sort of, or VTT, trying to sort of make this super easy, transparent, and most importantly, fundable. There's no point to build a startup where the cap table is broken on a day one. Then answer the risk question. The risk is like unlimited. You shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's an awesome program like VTT Launchpad and others, what they have built, Aalto University, Tampere University, Oulu University, and different setups in Sweden. But anyway, Maria, about this kind of technology transfers, have you yet been kind of dealing with those as an investor, that you want to invest into certain case, but before that you need to execute the technology transfer from the university or research institutions?
We've addressed and confronted some of those maybe even challenges in a few cases that we looked at, not a case that we've invested in, but there's been discussions where the university has perhaps had too much of an ownership, and the cap table is in that sense a bit difficult perhaps. But then of course in my previous life as an attorney, these questions were quite often on my table, and they can of course be also a risk to be aware of. I mean, going in early as an investor. And I think I wanted to comment on your observation, Harri, that as a founder you sort of don't see a risk because you know the team, you have the sort of conviction. But of course, coming into a case very early as an investor, there's quite a few risks you sort of want to mitigate. For example, I mean, think about the regulatory risks, the competitive risks, technical risks, commercial risks. And I think there, if you think about the topic of our panel, sort of balancing investment and innovation, how big should the gap be where the investor comes in to bridge the stage between innovation and commercialization, and what's sort of suitable there? I don't think there's a right answer, but that would be interesting to address.
Harri has an opinion. And
just quick reply. Don't get me wrong, there's absolutely huge risk with any deep tech venture. But my perspective is that the founding team has to believe that we can manage, mitigate all the risks, and we have to have a solid plan how to actually do it.
And that's the kind of founder you want to invest in.
Hope so.
Vadim, maybe taking or continuing that topic. So you usually invest into A round, right?
Yeah, we're around investors, like 5 to 10 million ticket size.
Spot, yeah.
So basically we invest when discovery already happened. So not that universities spin out. Discovery already happened, but it's still in a lab. And Great Wall doesn't know about it yet, because otherwise it will be like in the billions. So, and we're happy to put our money first, to de-risk this technology and to present it to the world and bring large strategics on board at this stage.
In your investment strategy or in your investment model, do you use tranches or something, or do you put your 10 million in at one go? And
look, you know, deep tech, like if we, for example, they require 15 million to build a pilot. So you can't give them 5 and 5 and 5, because they need the whole 15 to build a pilot. So we're a high conviction investor. We usually like taking 20% of the company. With high conviction, high like hands-on involved. Obviously, we can't advise on technology because we're investing in the best of the best in this particular field. But we can advise on strategy and bring like this large strategic on board later stage.
So Vadim, do I understand correct that you don't do this sort of milestone-based funding?
It's impossible because like if people need for clinical trial, like clinical trial costs like 20 million. You can't do half a clinical trial, so you need the whole 20 million.
Sure.
So in a deep tech, it's a very difficult to like piecemeal feeding.
How about you, Maria? So do you deploy these tranches or milestones or?
It's not something we've done in our cases so far. But I mean, I could see there being perhaps a scenario where that could work, that you sort of tie it to certain metrics, certain regulatory approvals,
exactly.
These kinds of milestones. But I guess it comes maybe more from the private equity kind of world. And maybe not all founders view it as very founder-friendly, but I think it's a case-by-case assessment, right?
So, and usually, do you want to invest at the seed, late seed, early AA, whatever these labels are?
We have a flexible mandate, so we can do from pre-seed to Series A. Optimally,
but what do you want to do?
We want to do mostly seed, I would say.
Sorry?
Seed.
Seed.
But then again, as we invest across Northern Europe, a seed round might look very different in Finland as opposed to in Munich or Berlin. So, I mean, these definitions sometimes don't mean that much, I think.
Okay, so then, as we mentioned, that maybe a bit more money needed. Vadim already talked about A round and so forth. But average seed ticket in a deep tech startup. Let's start from Maria. And do you dare to say any number?
So I mean, we have a mandate of doing from €500,000 up to €3 million initial tickets.
Yeah.
And that's the initial ticket, and then we have, of course, saved some for follow-on.
Okay. Okay. How
So
about Vadim?
we don't do seed, obviously. We like we 5 to 10 million average ticket size. We can do like 1, 2 just to save space for the next fund. And we don't do any reserve in a fund. We just pulling money from the next fund if company need it. So like we are deploying quite quickly. So like 2 years and fund is fully deployed.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we have learned that there's pretty good technology transfer programs, at least in Finland. I can say that same thing in Sweden and in the Baltics and Denmark, in our opinion. Bit longer fund terms might be needed for this. Then Vadim already touched a bit about this intellectual property rights, patents or whatnot. What kind of a thinking, risk mitigation wise or business opportunity wise, or the patents and IPRs? What kind of a thinking you have around those?
Look, for us, it's like a critical component of any investments. If there is no defense, if it can be replicated tomorrow, we would never touch it. So everything we are doing, it's like a highly special, completely unique. We used to be like a generalist investor investing in consumer, and we eat our humble pie when like a competitor came in with a similar product and eliminated our company in one go. So we pivoted for deep tech, and right now we see why it is much better. Because we are betting on technology, and technology has like a big moat. So patents, intellectual property, trade secrets. So if you would like to replicate, it takes you like a hard way. Like take drugs. So it's a long patent. So this is defense.
How do you see this new oil, i.e. data? Is it if you have a good database from the Karolinska Institute and then that your AI model is built on that?
We invested in AI even before it was AI. And to be honest, we don't consider AI as a deep tech. So like for us, it's a kind of a closer to .com rather than to deep tech. So we've done kind of experimenting. It's not, this company are doing well, but it's not the best performing companies in our portfolio. So we are not big believers. We consider, because right now, you know, like at least in our part of the world, if you put like AI at the end of name of your company, you are a champion. So, but we are not carried away with it.
Okay, so you prefer patents and
we prefer real science, real science
instead of data.
And we prefer existing demand. So, for example, clean energy. If you can produce clean, cheap energy, there is unlimited demand. So you don't need to work hard to sell it.
Okay, Harri, what do you think of IPRs, patents?
Yeah.
Are those interesting at all when you are building a company?
It is quite of interest. So for reasons I cannot disclose, I've been looking a lot into this for the past 6 months. And I think ideally you have this fundamental, groundbreaking research that can be a basis for building a strong patent portfolio. And you have a go-to-market plan where you actually don't have an unknown time, steps, you know, there's no unknowns, not that much unknowns on how and when you can enter to the market. And I think this kind of medium depth of the deep tech pool is pretty nice place to look at, because if you build your business right, you have a sort of clear go-to-market strategy and execute it. And if you happen to find a blue ocean market for your product, there's sky is the only limit there, and that's sort of for me this is the part of the deep tech where I see sort of most opportunities for person like me who has this kind of engineer mindset that I want to picture everything all the way to the goal, even if the picture is changing every single day. So yeah, the risk mitigations comes from the IP side, but of course, you know, if you're working in a big industry, having patent is not nothing. It's not enough. Having onion patent strategy, also not enough. You have to literally make product that is so good, so well protected, that any potential competition or customer, they will try to copy it, steal it, and then they realize that it doesn't make any sense. So let's instead of be a partner or acquire the company, and that's sort of the direction where the startup should be heading.
Yeah, so beauty...
Just a quick comment, that I think that was so well said, because you can't look at the question of patents or IPR protection in a silo and look only at that, but you have to take a sort of a holistic approach to it. And I think you framed it very well, that in the end you have to assess also as an investor, is this a solution that is worth investing in, and not just sort of frame it into a too small, fantastic technology or very well patented portfolio, because that in itself will not be a big enough bet to make.
Yeah, beauty of deep tech is often that there is this sustainable competitive advantage that I guess all of you have been claiming here, because years of research converted into innovation, converted into product and into business, and then the IPRs and patents might have a little additional protection layer, but that's not really so important as the innovation as such. Super. Hey, then often these deep tech cases, they have this physical or tangible product part. Anything about that related to longer development period or risks? Like if you need to manufacture this beautiful piece of product, then ship it to the market. If there's problem, you need to recall it and so forth. How do you think this physical product or tangible product part when you consider investment?
We prefer not to do product ourselves. We would rather license it and someone will produce it, and because for startup it's very difficult and expensive to produce anything. For example, we are building a geothermal plant in Germany. Our startup is building. The plant will cost like $300 million. But we are doing only plant 1 on our own. Like plant 2, when it's up, like first plant up and running, will be built, I don't know, by Chevron, British Petroleum, or whoever will license our technology. So we prefer not to do our products ourselves. So
okay, so licensing and let someone else to take care of the manufacturing. Yeah. Maria, what do you think of this physical or tangible product part?
I'm thinking that it's sort of inherent in our investment thesis or strategy, in the sense that we look at Industry 4.0 as the really interesting thematic to go deep into, and we believe that the 2020s will actually be the period when the physical and digital merge. And I think it's quite interesting, if you look at industry in general, how little has actually been digitalized. Much is still done with pen and paper, actually. So I think here there's a lot of opportunities that also then go into the tangible part that you're alluding to. As I think it's sort of inherent in the investment approach that we've chosen to take.
Okay, Harri. Not yet knowing what's your product exactly, but let's assume that there's a physical or tangible part of it.
That's your words, not mine. But I think when you have a product that has both hardware and software side that work in a novel, beautiful way together, then the upside is huge. But the challenge is that there's a lot of startups who have a business plan which is super capex heavy. Everybody, nobody wants to build a factory. You should really avoid it. Don't build any factories. Find a clever way to avoid that if you want to do, and really early on you have to address, if you're thinking about hardware and the risks, like especially deep tech, so something novel. Often the risk is that something that works in a lab doesn't work in a industrial manufacturing scale. Maybe it's just too expensive, or maybe the novel process just doesn't scale up. And that's something I will personally be quite worried about, being closely involved and following when the electric vehicle battery startup hype was happening like already over 10 years ago, and there were a lot of innovations that just don't work out, too expensive.
Yeah. good thing of this Finnish and Swedish ecosystem is, in my opinion, thanks to Ericsson's and Nokia. So there's a lot of service providers still who can do the manufacturing for you, and there's a lot of know-how of logistics and this and that. So I think we have a bit of an edge there in these areas to also do this kind of deep tech companies. Great. So I think our time is up. Thank you. If I summarize something, so do the longer time period, bit longer funds, then instead of 10 years, maybe 12 years, even 14 if one dares. Then the bigger investments, so no tranches as such, but enough money so that they can take the next step. We all seem to appreciate the technology transfer programs, and then somehow avoiding this manufacturing trap, so being it licensing as in Vadim cases or something else. But I think that's it, and thank you all. It was super fun, and thank you audience, and let's enjoy the event.
Thank you, Ville.